truly excited to have Umer Khan join us, who is a real estate and e-commerce bookkeeper, assistant director of sales, and is also currently studying at none other than the Harvard University. Umer, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, Neil.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you. And I got to kick this off with a little bit of an anecdote. For those listeners and those on the call, I hate with a passion finances and bookkeeping and trying to keep up with it and kind of keep clear books. I try my best, but I can tell you that until I started working with Umer late last year and early this year, they were not the cleanest. And so the business and operation that you've been able to build up, Umer, has saved me a tremendous amount of time and honestly a lot of headache. And I really want to dive into kind of the backstory first. How did you get into that business? What were you doing before that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story, Neil. And first off, shout out to you. I've been your bookkeeper for some time. And your property management business, the way you manage your Airbnbs, that's just superb. So a huge shout out to you. Been a great experience working with you thus far. So yeah, kind of backtracking on my story. It all started in 2020 at the peak of COVID. So basically, before that, I was working for my dad. I was working there as main director sales. And I started off there when I joined his company. I started off really like the smallest stall that there was in that office. I started off there and I had really had to prove my mettle in there. So at the peak of my career over there, I had around I'd say $500,000 per year in sales at that time at the peak of my career over there. So after that, and I was on top of that, I was also studying at that. I was doing bachelor's in economics at a university in Pakistan, so like one of the top universities over here, National University of Science and Technologies. That's where I was at the time. So I was kind of like managing, whereas my friends would be going off into concerts and they'd be going off into events and hanging out all that time. As soon as university was over, the next minute I would just hop in the car and get back to work and work there all night long. So it was a great experience working there. There's everything I learned about business I learned from there. But after, so kind of like linking the two stories together of how I came into the real estate and e-commerce bookkeeping. After a point over there, I started to realize that we probably need to improve our margins, and in order to do that, we need to have a really robust accounting system. And at that time, we were using like Excel spreadsheets. So I started, trying to implement CRMs. I started implementing books, basically the main software. So for those of you, I mean, everyone would know, but still, QuickBooks is an online accounting software. So, we started off implementing that, and I was the lead for implementing it. So basically, it took me around 3 to 4 months for, I'd say, yeah, around that time, where basically I went to learn all resources on YouTube. I'd be learning everything on YouTube, and then just working off of on the books, on my dad's books on there, trying to catch him up and get his books in the system. And so after 3 to 4 months, when it was finally implemented, we were able to actually see the picture of the company. Like we were able to see the exact down to the cent how much like income there was coming in, because you can jack up sales by as much as you want, but at the end of the day, what really matters is is the bottom line, the net income that you generate. So we were able to see that. We were able to see cash flow. We were able to see how many assets do we have, what's the like liabilities that we have on there. And when we were able to do that, after that, there was this point where we had COVID. And then during that point, my dad's business was pretty much on standby around that time. So I thought, hey, I already know the skill. So why not go out and try to find some work for it? So it was around COVID time when I reached out to a couple of people who were in the outsourcing industry, so to speak, and reaching out to them, they're like, okay, I have this client. Like it was a really small client that I started off with. They were starting up in the United Arab Emirates. It was an IT company over there. So they basically had me set up their QuickBooks, and you'd be surprised to know, the order that I got for it. The value, like the complete order, it was only for $9. So I took it like, hey, it's better than nothing. I'm just at home doing nothing. So, $9, I can probably, is to do something with that money at least. So, I started working on the books and I thought it would be an hour. So if this work gets done in an hour, I'd be making $9 an hour, which is sure. I'm doing nothing else at home except for watching like Netflix and YouTube at that time. So yeah, I started working on that order. And to my surprise, it took me almost an entire night. I started off at like 11, 12 p.m. a.m. over here. It took me up until 6 to 7 in the morning to complete that. But through that, my client was able to understand that, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Not boasting about our stuff because I've had experience implementing it for a much larger company, my dad's company. So he understood the value proposition that I offered him, which was, I can help you save your time doing finances, doing it in an organized manner, so that you can focus on the parts of your business that allow your business to grow, which are sales and marketing. So you can grow your business, and at the time, you don't have to be bogged down in, hey, there's a $20 bill to say Home Depot. What's this for? Or Amazon. How do I categorize this? How do I categorize that? I take care of that, and you take care of like growing your company and managing it. And at the end of the month, we go through the reports together so that you're seeing your profit margins, you're seeing your asset positions, you're seeing your cash flow at the end. So that is how I actually started.
And Umer, that's incredible. The fact that you were able to leverage an experience that you had within your home and within your family company, and then build it into a whole business because you saw a need in the market. And to your point, I think we kicked it off at the top talking about this, but this was a major pain point for me heading into this year. I've been in real estate investing since 2016. I've also been the person trying to handle the books since 2016 until I met you late last year. And I can tell you, it was always a little bit of a stress factor. It's like, all right, tax season's coming up. I know I'm going to get hit by Uncle Sam. How do I organize everything? I've been buying over here, buying over here. I remember one of the first things you told me is, Nee, you got to separate your credit cards. You need to separate all your accounts for all this stuff. And it was painful for about a month. But now looking back, when I see the books that we're able to keep, it's so clean. And now I'm able to have quarterly conversations with my CPA that are actually impactful. He can say, hey, you're going to make X amount. This is what your tax liability is looking like. If you were to purchase another property, or if you were to move this over this way, we may be able to cut that down in half or less. And I love what you said about being able to take this off of others' hands so they can focus on the metrics of the company, like the sales and the marketing that's going to help them continue to grow. And the other piece that you mentioned, and there's a couple things I want to dig into, Umer, but one piece that stood out as well is the fact that now you have clean books even for your company, and then I have clean books for different properties. So you can see, hey, this property that I thought was making me a lot of money is actually costing me a lot. And this other property that I didn't really pay attention to is the cash cow. And so now you know which ones are the winners and the losers. And before we even dig into some of the stuff that you said, I don't want it to go over everybody's head. Can you tell us, where are you located right now and what time is it roughly?
Oh, so I'm located in Pakistan. I forgot to mention that in Islamabad. It's around 4 a.m. over here. But I'm used to working EST hours. I'm used to taking classes EST hours. So it's, just like a usual day for me at night.
Well, we hope the coffee is strong, and I appreciate you because
Yeah.
when we hopped on our first calls, I was like, hold up, what time is it? You're like, yeah, it's early. I'm like, hey, you don't gotta do that for me. But no, we appreciate
Yeah.
it, Umar. And so you mentioned building out the system, right? And one of the things that you've done that a lot of people find it difficult to is you've scaled, right? You didn't just figure out the system for one person or two people. You manage a significant number of clients. Would you mind sharing roughly how many clients you manage right now?
Yeah, so in total, we're managing about 40 to 50 clients at this time, plus minus. And other than that, in terms of like, it, if you were to think of just as one client, then 40 to 50 doesn't seem that much. But if you were to think it in terms of say real estate units, so we're managing across 300 units plus more or less. It's 300 to 400 units. In terms of e-commerce stores, we're doing across like in real estate, as in holding values. I think it's pretty much tops like our customers, their portfolio tops anywhere from between $5 to $10 million on there. And in terms of e-commerce stores, we're handling customers from Amazon, Shopify, eBay, Walmart. We have customers that have, that Amazon approaches to, like your products are a cash cow for us, so we need to more optimize over that. So that sort of volume. So we have like customers in e-commerce doing hitting the $1 to $2 million range on there. And then we also, but that doesn't mean that we don't value small customers. We are also catering to a lot of startups and a lot of people that are, just starting up in there in both real estate and e-commerce.
Absolutely. And that's huge, right? A huge portfolio of clients across e-commerce, real estate. And you mentioned it's not just the big guys you're willing to grow. And we've been able to grow, right? When I first came to you, I think there was maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4 short-term rentals and, some other stuff. And now it's like 12 and we're growing. We're going to hit 20 by the end of the year. So I'm trying to be one of your bigger clients. But one of the things that you mentioned in the run up to this is the importance of empowering a team and the importance of delegation. Would you mind just walking us through how you've been able to grow from that standpoint and delegate more and build the team that can handle this many clients?
Absolutely. So when I started, when I was servicing my first client, I didn't have it in the part of like, it's another part-time job for me. Rather, it's because I've worked in business from as long as I've been in a university, as long as I've been out of college, I've been in business. It's always about making systems for me. So right from the outset, I wanted to make systems. And pretty much around that time, I've had, people in my dad's company who were there. And, I asked for 1 or 2 people from him, like, hey, can I have this person? Can I have that person? And then I started training them extensively on the software. Basically, whatever I learned from YouTube, I just transferred that over into them. And we started working off of that. So that was, delegating at the basic level. Now, where we are at today, we have a team of 8. And what we're doing is, we have training programs, we have policies in place, we have interviews, like really strict interviews kind of things to filter out and get highly qualified and skills specialists on the team, that sort of stuff. And then once they come in, we train them, we groom them. We have to according to from the softwares like QuickBooks, Zero, other property management software or Airbnbs. So the training piece that goes in first, which is very important because working on books and especially of something of a portfolio like that for our clients, it's highly important to have it accurately done. So we have that come in, we have them trained completely. And then you might recall when I had you as a client, we went through a couple of meetings, which was basically onboarding meetings. So this is all part of a system where in the onboarding meetings, I'm trying to understand how you're running your business, right? What are your processes? What are your say day-to-day operations that you're doing in that businesses? And we're noting all of that down. We have onboarding documents, and I'm sure you fill at that time. And after that, we have our own internal complete set of documentations so that hey, Nee paid someone XYZ through Venmo, and Nee usually does kind of like artificial intelligence, but on a smaller scale, I say. So Nee does this through Venmo, then this can be most likely this thing, and so on and so forth. So we're creating like a client's profile. Your business is pretty much recorded on our documents so that we can understand it better and we can do everything that you want us to do.
And that's huge, huge. And if I remember correctly, and your memory might be different, but in one of those onboarding meetings, you kindly told me that I needed to completely stop what I was doing and change up the way I was keeping books. And I appreciate it now because it was painful early on, but it's a lot cleaner and now everything's separate. And again, you get that picture that you can now take to your tax professional, your CPA, and actually get help and actually have strategic conversations. Because if your books are all messed up, all they can do is try to put a Band-Aid on it and file it as is. But if they're clean, now they can start having intelligent conversations with you. And that's another way to optimize your business, get some more savings coming your way. And I got a question for you, Umer. When should somebody, in your eyes, be looking if they're doing e-commerce or real estate? Should it be after, one property, after 8 properties? When should they look to hire a service like yours that can help them with some of the bookkeeping?
Yeah, so I would say the best time to hire is now. If you have one property, if you don't have any property, you're just a realtor, or if you had like 100 properties, the best time to hire is now because the sooner you get it done, the better. You're gonna have a laser sharp focus on your books. You're gonna know, like as you mentioned, you were able to get insights on which of your properties were making you money, which weren't. So even as you are starting out and scaling out, we start from the branch level, like, hey, okay, this is a client who has one property, like a single unit on the property. And so we start off at that level, and then they keep adding on more properties, and we're scaling with them each and every month, each and every year. So there's not really a limit, but ideally the sooner you get started, the better. If you're at a single property and you get started at that time, then that's the perfect time. Because I think I might have had that conversation with you, because in my experience, a lot of business owners right at the very start, they have this very line between their personal finances and their business finances. So they purchase a property, and then they're using their personal credit cards towards, say, purchasing supplies, purchasing, say, decor improvements, all of those things. They're using their personal funds, and at the end of the day, they're just looking at these statements completely blankly. Whereas if you have a complete system set up, everything is going through the bank. You can apply for cards. You have complete financial statements over there. Whenever you need mortgages, whenever you need draws, whenever you need loans, everything is right in place. So another thing, like another kind of like pain point we address, is that for real estate investors, whenever you need loans, you have your documents ready. It's like within 1 to 2 days, your documents are ready. You can just submit it to any lender you want, and there you go. If you want to refinance your property, your finances are ready. If you want to, say, sell your property, the buyer's bank or their lender wants to take a look at your finances. Well, your finances are already there and ready. So that's you know whichever point you're at, the best time to start is now.
I love it. I love it. And it's true. The quicker you can start and earlier you can start, the better it's going to be throughout your career. And you're not going to be scared to open up those books come tax time because it's been pretty clean. And so,
Absolutely.
Umar, I have two more questions for you before opening it up to the rest of the group that's on the line, because I know that they're itching to ask a couple questions and kind of learn more as well. One is, I know you're working on a couple projects, right? I'm going to name a few. One being a guide as well as a YouTube channel for real estate bookkeeping and e-commerce bookkeeping. The other being software for e-commerce bookkeeping. And all of this alongside still studying full time at Harvard toward graduation. How are you keeping this all together? And can you tell us about a couple of these projects?
Yeah, have you ever seen kind of like in a circus where the guy is juggling, the guy's on a unicycle, and he's juggling with all of these things in his hands.
Yeah.
So that's what my life is. I start working at 1 p.m. my time, and I end at 5 a.m. my time. So throughout that time I'm working, then I have all these projects coming through, all of those things going on. So that's pretty much my workspace, like 12 or almost 12 to 13 hours at working. Take breaks for lunch, take breaks for family time, but more or less I'd say 12 hours a day that I'm working on. But yeah, so these projects like the e-commerce software project, an interesting thing over there is when you think of real estate software, like property management software, there are a lot of options out there. You have Buildium, you have Appfolio, because it's a very sizable market and there are a lot of big players in there. So obviously a newcomer can't compete with those. And they have their own training programs, specialists, and you have this community where you can find on. But another problem that I saw is the way in e-commerce is, you have your revenues coming in, you have your expenses, it's all going live at the time. So if you were to draw it in a funnel, you wouldn't be able to, because it's just multi-directional. Things are crisscrossing all the time. It's never like you could say, okay, I just received this payment. Like if you're a realtor, You close the deal, you receive your commission for $5,000. In e-commerce, you have hundreds of orders going out and they're holding payments for like 10, 14 days, and then they're releasing payments after some time. So there's all this lag going on. So for e-commerce specifically, people have an issue setting their books up in, say, softwares like QuickBooks, Xero, because they're not specifically designed for e-commerce. They're designed for a general trading business, and you can mold them whichever way you want. But a normal person, a business owner, can't really use them. So we want to create an accounting software that anyone could use, which has clear tutorials, clear instructions. It connects to all these platforms automatically, and it's just plug and play for anyone.
I like it. I like it. Trying to solve an issue. And that's really what building a business is about. It's about identifying a problem that's in the market, coming up with a solution, packaging it, and releasing that solution out to the world. So that's pretty incredible. And I know that you've been able to really start to craft and refine that by working with these clients and understanding some of their struggles. And so the last question from me before opening it up to the group is, when are you coming to the States, man? You were supposed to be out here a couple months ago, and we got to link up. When you coming to the States?
Yeah, so I was supposed to be there this year, but due to some responsibilities over here and some projects, like side projects, because I work with you, so I'm also like a part of the financial freedom race kind of thing. So I had some stuff over in rental properties that I wanted to focus more on this over here. So just solidifying the groundwork for my financial freedom, so that what your whole channel is about, so that you don't have to work 9 to 5 until you retire. So just trying to do that over here and be there next year.
Hey, Umer, we will give you a pass because that was an excellent answer. And so now we're going to go ahead and open it up to the group. Anybody, please feel free to ask your questions to Umer.
Specific question. Thank you so much.
And Abdul, we can hear you a little bit. You mind speaking up a little?
Can you all hear me very well?
Okay. How about now? Is it better?
Much better.
Yeah,
Much better. Okay, awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, Umar. Thank you so much for breaking down all those things. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of things that I've learned too. So I recently asked Neil for help with like bookkeeping and all this stuff, and he referred me some people. But this understanding that you have to get it as soon as possible is super important. But a quick question I had was in regards to like setting up trust and things. I don't know. Do you have experience with that?
Setting up what, sorry?
Like trust to to double enclose, I guess, deeper is like, double enclose your properties and things like that. Just, understanding how to pass down for your properties, pass down, generation of wealth, later on. Do you have any specific like tips that you can give in regards to that?
Yeah, so basically, trust is kind of like a separate area of taxation. And my area is primarily, accounting. That doesn't mean we don't do we don't work in taxation. Like we do Schedule Cs and 1099s and all of those. But trust specifically isn't my area of expertise yet. So, I think that once I'm there, I can better answer you that time, but not this time.
And piggybacking off that, I think the trust piece is one you definitely want to talk to legal along with, your tax professional and things of that nature before you move into. It's something I'm thinking about too down the road, but definitely not an expert on it. And I'm with Umer.
Umer, thank you so much for sharing, and your background is really impressive. I wanted to ask, I know you have experience in QuickBooks, maybe QuickBooks Desktop and Xero. Do you recommend like a certain software to use, like one over the other, whether it's QuickBooks or Xero?
Yeah, so most of it depends on what your business really is. So if you were to ask me for for any business, if I had two options, QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, I would recommend QuickBooks Online. Although it's a bit expensive, but the reports are available live. You don't have to, like, desktop only works in your desktop. So you wouldn't have to, store it and then offer remote connection, things like that. But within QuickBooks Online and Xero, I think that Zero has an edge on it because I'm a pro advisor on both of them. Zero has an edge on it that it's a little cheaper than QuickBooks, but then again, QuickBooks is the #1 choice for CPAs in the United States and all this tax community, tax related. Filing is pretty easy through QuickBooks. So that's where QuickBooks comes in. So even though it costs more for tax related, it has an edge over Zero, but definitely both softwares do fare well. And if I had to rate one over another, it wouldn't be that easy for me.
It makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Umer, a question from me, and I meant to ask it earlier, but with the goals that you have for 2022, how can our audience and the listeners help you achieve some of your goals?
Yeah. So sorry, could you be a little more specific?
Absolutely. So I know that you've been building the team, right? As well as building the real estate and working toward that financial freedom. And it's growing rapidly, right? How can we help you continue to build your team and help you continue to hit some of the goals that you're trying to reach for this year?
Yeah, basically. So, it's all the learning experience over here. Working with you, I've learned a lot of things, and working with all of my clients, it's a continual learning curve. Where every day I go to work, I learn more. So it's not your regular, as your show says, your regular 9 to 5. So it's not specifically that, but you're just passing around pieces of paper to each other, and you're doing the same job on your desk over and over until you're 65. So we kind of we're learning every day the processes that you have. I'm learning all of those, and I listen to your channel. I go through your videos a lot, and all that information you put out there is really helpful. And yeah, other than that, at any time, if you want your books done, if you have a friend who wants their books done, then just reach out to me. Another client wouldn't hurt.
Absolutely. And we're going to put all of Umer's contact info into the show notes. So you can definitely reach out. And if you want to get it before this episode, just shoot me a message. But any last questions for Umer? All right, y'all. Umer, thank you again for jumping on at 4 a.m. I can't repeat that enough, and for always being willing to hop on and help me and your other clients out. Really believe that a lot of people are going to gain value from this, and we just appreciate you, man. For everyone else, please have an awesome rest of the night. Look forward to catching up with you all next week. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like button on the YouTube and the iPod, and leave comments and reviews, because it's going to help us continue to grow the audience and continue to bring awesome people like Umer on. Everybody, please have an awesome night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you so much. Thank you so much.